Benjamin Adesanya Maja Adekunle was born in Kaduna, Nigeria on June 26, 1936 into a devoted Christian family. His father, Thomas Adekunle, was from Ogbomoso in present-day Oyo State, and his mother, Amina Theodora, was from Bachama tribe in Adamawa State in northern Nigeria. Adekunle could communicate in the three major Nigerian languages, Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, which later became an asset to his operations during the Civil War. He attended Roman Catholic primary school in Ida before moving on to Dekina School and then Benue on scholarship in 1947. Adekunle was enrolled in Okene Middle School, now known as Abdulaziz Atta Memorial College, Okene, Kogi State, for his secondary education in 1951. He was then recruited by the British colonial officials into the Nigerian Army at age 22 after passing his school certificate examination in 1958. After he passed his first chosen career entrance examination, he moved to Ghana Tertiary Institute for pre-selection of prospective military officers between 1959 and 1960. Adekunle went to Royal Military Academy Sandhurst in the United Kingdom for a 2-year training program. He also attended the School of Infantry and later the School of Tactical Wing, United Kingdom. On December 15, 1960, Adekunle was commissioned as a second lieutenant and a platoon commander and assigned to the 1st Battalion. In 1962, Adekunle was appointed aide-de-camp to Sir Akanu Ibiam, the then governor of the Eastern Region. In 1963, he was subsequently promoted to the rank of a captain and assigned as staff captain to the Nigerian Brigade headquarters. In 1964, Major Adekunle attended the Defense Service Staff College in Wellington, India. After returning to Nigeria in May 1965, he was temporarily appointed Adjutant General at the Nigerian Army headquarters, replacing Lieutenant Colonel Yakubu Gowon. Adekunle later handed over the position to Lieutenant Colonel James Palm and was posted to his old battalion in Enugu as a commander. He was there till the flare-up of the Nigerian Civil War, which began as a police action and quickly escalated into an undeniable military activity when the Biafran attacked the Midwestern region. As part of the war plans, commanders were appointed. In 1967, Adekunle took command of the Lagos garrison as a substantive lieutenant colonel. Many writers argue that every war has euphoric moments for those who participate. The Nigerian Civil War was no exception. The Civil War lasted from July 1967 to January 15, 1970. Gowon's war strategy following the Biafran invasion of the Midwestern region was a shocking maneuver that the Nigerian federal troops had not projected. As part of his strategy to crush the Biafran, he assigned some of his top military men key roles. First, Mohammed Shua was the Federal Army's 1st Division commander. His orders were to march his troops from northern Nigeria into Biafran major cities like Nsukka and Ogoja. Colonel Muritala Mohammed at the time was the 2nd Division commander. He was actually given direct orders to win back Benin and other parts of Midwest occupied by the Biafran army, and then cross the River Niger into Onitsha and cities such as Nsukka and Ogoja. The Nigerian Army 3rd Infantry Division, later renamed 3 Marine Commando Division, due to its nature of operations carried out in the Midwestern regions, River State and other similar ones in the Southeastern state, was led by Benjamin Adekunle. Benjamin Adekunle, known within the military circle as the Black Scorpion and Benji, was a man of incredible intricacy. As a tactical planner, he represented a furious, brave banter at both the national and international levels. Benjamin always stood out amongst his peers whenever he was confronted by the enemy, as evident during the battles in southeastern Nigeria's Creek and the Mangrove Forest. During the Nigerian Civil War, Benjamin Adekunle's role was described as a war criminal or a villain by the Biafran owing to the genocide committed against the people of the region. However, he was also known as a hero by the Nigerian federal government. Certain researchers have observed the Black Scorpion's activities in the domain of ending the conflict and defending the Nigerian state, which was on the verge of disintegration. But on the other hand, the Biafran soldiers saw Benjamin as a heartless hunting dog of the Nigerian federal government and a Black Scorpion who was to be blamed for the sustained destruction and killings of thousands of Igbos during the conflict. Benjamin Adekunle was not only portrayed as a villain by the Biafran soldiers but also accused of genocide during the Civil War. So many people believe that his approach was a systematic attempt to exterminate Easterners, including women and children. The pogroms were said to have resulted in the killing of between 36,000 to 42,000 people. As a result of these pogroms during the war, over 1 million Igbo people died. It is also alleged that the Nigerian troops led by Adekunle deliberately targeted Biafran civilians during the war. The bombings of civilians and methods of operations were planned to execute and exterminate the Igbos. As commander of the federal troops, Adekunle advanced his men towards the Niger River, arriving in Asaba in early October 1967. There are several versions of what happened when the residents of the town learned about the arrival of the federal troops. Up to 1,000 Asaba residents were said to have died within a few days as a result of the cruelty of the federal troops led by Adekunle, with majority in a single and systematic pogrom of men and boys on October 7, 1967. It is also claimed that Asaba leaders ordered their people to offer the federal troops a pledge of one Nigeria to appease the federal troops. Asaba leaders requested from the people of the town to march, singing, drumming, and chanting one Nigeria. Despite this, the people of Asaba were disappointed when those on the march were immediately surrounded by the federal troops to prevent anyone from escaping. According to eyewitness accounts, the federal troops selected males at random and executed them in full view of the people. A particular account noted that mothers who came with their sons were removing their skirts and gloves to disguise them so that their sons appeared to be women rather than men. During the march, sounds of gunshots were heard after women had been allowed to leave the crowd. Although there were no accurate and precise statistics of casualties in Asaba during the war, however, it was estimated that between 500 and 800 people died, in addition to many who died the day before. The Asaba Development Council compiled a list of 373 confirmed dead people in 1981, but admitted that many more were not included. Following the massacre by the federal troops, the majority of the soldiers remained in Asaba, waiting to cross the River Niger into Onitsha. Some of them resurfaced in the homes of families whose men had been executed. Some soldiers even kidnapped young women for a week before returning them to their parents. When the federal troops took over Calabar in 1968, the 3 Marine Commando led by Benjamin Adekunle was accused of killing 1,000 or 2,000 Igbos, majority of whom were civilians. It was also claimed that the federal troops committed numerous atrocities in the Calabar region. According to the Times of London, the Nigerian forces opened fire and murdered 14 nurses and patients in the particular hospital. This incident occurred in Oji River. Numerous lives were said to have been lost by the Nigerian soldiers in Uyo and Okigwe. According to Achebe, Port Harcourt fell to the Nigerian federal troops on May 12, 1968, after several weeks of sustained air, land, and sea bombardment, a period reportedly characterized by military atrocities such as rape and looting. At that time, Benjamin Adekunle made a press release which noted that I would rather not see the Red Cross, no Caritas, no World Council of Churches, no Pope, no missionaries, or a United Nations representative. I need to forestall even Igbo having even one piece to eat before their capitulation. The statement made by Adekunle was regarded as a war strategy to save Nigeria from disintegration at the height of the war, whereas it was regarded as a perpetuated war crime against the Biafran people. Many commentaries in both national and international media discussed Adekunle's handling of the war. His activities as a commander of the 3rd Marine Commando epitomized the boundless convictions among those covering the conflict that the divisional commander used outright power and authority during the conflict, even to the dismay of his boss, General Yakubu Gowon, who was also forced to monitor him. Benjamin Adekunle's sanctions during the Civil War were portrayed as heroic by the Nigerian government. To the Civil War Federalists, Benjamin was a hero who fought to keep Nigeria united. His elevated degree of individual drive and determination, which were his central attributes, played a significant role during the conflict. The men and officials of the 3 Marine Commando battled with more noteworthy energy and assurance because of the fear of death by Colonel Adekunle, which was always in their minds. His strategy during the war to prevent Nigeria from disintegration was the blockade he formed to also prevent Biafra having access to food and weapons. However, Obasanjo stated that Adekunle had 3 regiments entrusted with the seaborne, arriving in Bonny on July 26, 1967, an essential need in the general government's objective of circulating Biafra. He set up a good foundation for himself as a splendid and speedy thinking battle officer, equipped for consolidating creative preparations with daringness in execution. His soldiers' prosperity at Bonny was rehearsed on October 18, 1967 with the seizure of Calabar. By April 1968, the whole southeast region had been freed. In addition to this, Benjamin Adekunle's soldiers drove north with about 40,000 soldiers under his command as a significant strategy intended to remove Biafra from the sea coast. With this holistic strategy, Benjamin Adekunle guided the 15th Brigade to catch Onne with 2 forces, and Port Harcourt tumbled to the Nigerian on May 12, 1968. This activity's importance could not possibly be more significant. At the time, Adekunle was undaunted in his quest for the best material for his soldiers, carefully directing the securing and installation of arms and equipment to the last detail. His commitment to the prosperity of the men under his command helped in bringing out the best in them. Adekunle at the time also warned his troops against looting, stressing that the 3 Commando was locked in, so whatever was looted could not be taken anywhere. It was also reported that he warned against raping women. In all this, Nigeria's sense of morality suffered as a result of Adekunle's reputation for barbarism. There were also claims that a simple sighting of Adekunle ingrained fear and death in the minds of the people. Nevertheless, his undeniable inconsistent conduct incited a surge in grumbling, and General Gowon was compelled to apologize on his behalf. His reckless comments and other ugly remarks helped in denting his reputation before the international community. According to internal sources, Adekunle was replaced as a result of the series of crises that culminated in the failed ambush that affected the divisional commander. It was believed that Adekunle had become so popular with the entire people of Nigeria that he had assumed the status of a hero of the Civil War. Adekunle at the time had captured parts of the Midwest, including Warri and also Escravos, Bonny, Calabar, Udukbani, Ugep, Obubra, Ikom, Ekang, Oban, Oron, Uyo, Itu, which were all part of the present Cross River, Akwa Ibom, Bayelsa, and Rivers State of Nigeria. Be it as it may, Adekunle was replaced as a result of one crisis or the other during the period. On this note, Gowon actually replaced Adekunle with another officer from Yoruba land, Colonel Olusegun Obasanjo, a former military head of state and civilian president. Obasanjo's priority then was to restore the morale of his troops and return men to a semblance of fighting force that produced officers and men imbued with loyalty and harmony between the military and civilian, contrary to Adekunle, who created an image that Nigerian military was a bloodthirsty, genocidal army. After Adekunle's withdrawal from the war front, Adekunle was promoted to substantive colonel and appointed director of training and planning at the sector headquarters, a position he held until the end of the Civil War. He was later elevated to Brigadier General in 1972. Subsequently, he was suspended before retiring. Adekunle claimed that he was set up and not given a fair hearing by the military authorities who influenced the Adekunle should go campaign orchestrated by his rivals in the service.